These are the first 5 things that I learned after my first motocross race. What's up everybody, it's RJ with Twin Halos. So before I even get into the 5 things, I want to backtrack just a little bit to talk about where I actually first started riding a track. And when I first joined the military back in 2003, I got stationed in California, in Edwards, California, which is just outside of Antelope Valley. So some of those guys from California know where that is. But Antelope Valley just got its first public track, and that's the first place I ever rode a track. It was super intimidating, never been to a track before, and I didn't even know how to get onto the track. I had to ask somebody so I didn't crash and ruin everybody's, I didn't want to be that guy. So that's where I first started riding, and then I didn't continue riding there because it was so intimidating. I rode it maybe twice after that, and then I got shipped out to Florida. Now, comparing that track to Florida's tracks are a lot more forgiving, or at least where I was at in Port Walton Beach, those were a lot more forgiving because there was a lot more sand. It was not as hard packed as it was in California. So the track was tamer and it was a lot easier to start learning. And that's what got me excited about racing. And that's where I started my first race. Now, the first thing that I learned about my first race was get the whole shot. That's the best feeling in the world, is to leave everybody behind you. You know you're not gonna be in the back with all that chaos that's about to happen, usually in the first turn. But the whole shot was so key. And I credit my timing to drag racing in high school and in California at the LA County Raceway. So that's where I credit my starts, because I practiced my reaction times multiple times going through high school and then racing motocross. So the bike that I was racing was a 2003 YZ125. Now this is back in 2007, a little while ago. So that was when I had my first race, and that was my bike that I had raced, was an 03 stock YZ125. So practice your starts before you start racing. That way you can ensure that you're not going to be in all of that chaos in the first turn. So if you're racing D or C class, you can typically hold the gas on just for a split second longer to get a bike length ahead of everybody, as long as you have confidence in your turning capabilities. That way you can get out of the first turn as unscathed as I did. So I had practiced the starts multiple times before racing because that's all I wanted. I wanted to get out of the pack. I wanted to get in the first turn without crashing. That was my goal in the first race. I just wanted to get past that, and that whole thing was a success after that. So I got the whole shot, felt really good, and this is what leads me to tip number 2. And number 2 is your fitness has to be there, because after the first turn, I was dead. I was pushing myself so much harder than I would on regular practice days. I was trying to go faster. I was trying to push myself at a pace that I had no idea how to control the bike at. And I was riding over my head, and I was completely squirrely the entire time, and I was smoked after the first lap. Now there's a few things going on here. Your adrenaline is going through the roof. So is your heart rate. Your heart rate is going like crazy. And now you're riding a little bit faster than you have practiced before. So that's what's called riding over your head. Now, to tell when you are riding over your head, you don't have control of the bike is swapping back and forth. When you're coming into turns, you're just not riding smoothly. That could be from how the track has deteriorated, or that's just the way that you're riding right now. You're trying to ride faster than you've practiced before. But this is where arm pump really sets in, and arm pump where you're trying to hold on to the bars. Instead of holding on with the grip like this, you're holding on with your fingers. You're just thinking that this is going to benefit you, and you're gonna try and finish the next couple of laps like that. That's not going to work. So had I trained sooner and started addressing the arm pump issue and fixing my technique on the bike, I could have alleviated this, but I had to live through this first race in order to understand what I needed to fix. So tip number 2 is start doing some sort of training to improve your fitness for motocross. Tip number 3, when you are racing, is hold your line. If somebody's going to try and pass you, the last thing that you need to do is try and either get out of the way or get in the way to try and block somebody. If you're racing a local race, there is no time where you want to try and cross jump just to try and win a trophy. There's no trophy at a local race that's worth crashing and taking somebody out. Hold your line as best as you can. The faster rider is probably going to get around you, but your goal is to finish the race and finish it without any injury. So hold your line. The faster guy is going to have to figure out how to get around you. So when you're jumping, don't cross jump. And when you're turning, stay in your line. Some people may try to get inside and then take you out. Those type of things are unfortunately going to happen. Not everybody has the best experience and the best bike technique when you're racing the DNC class. So you're going to have to deal with that stuff as you go. For everybody's first race is going to be different. I could tell you my experience, but you may not experience the exact same things. So hold your line when you're riding. Tip number 4 is to stay on 2 wheels. Now, of course, this is easier said than done, but in my first race, I crashed right after the first lap. Everybody had passed me, and now it was insanely hard to try and get my bike started. Like I mentioned before, I was gassed after the first lap. Then throw in a fall, and now the worst thing is to try and kick your bike over. This will tire you out more than riding. So once I got the bike back on the track, I could not catch up to anybody. I was trying again to ride over my head, push myself because I was so competitive but yet so dumb in my head. So I started to do things and just lose more control, lose more time, and I wasn't smooth coming around the track. So had I been able to at least keep it on 2 wheels, I could have done way better than get last place. And when you're riding, most of the people that are racing, their fitness at most tracks that I've been to, their fitness is not up there at all. The fitness starts to come in when you're B, A class rider. But the C and D class, their fitness is not there. So if you were to start to improve your fitness, you can easily climb out of those classes a lot sooner. So just an FYI, if you want to try and get out of those classes, improve your fitness and you can ride a lot quicker than some of these guys, or at least last longer. And as they fade later in those laps, you'll be able to catch them and then pass them. So just a quick tip. And number 5 is do not jump something that you haven't jumped before. If you're on a practice weekend, yes, try and practice these jumps. My dumbass, I tried to jump a triple to try and catch up to these guys. That was not a good idea. I overjumped the triple, went off the track, and then that didn't help at all. Again, riding over my head, trying to go even faster now because I made another mistake. Now I'm trying to make up for falling and jumping off of the track. It just was a disaster. So don't try something that you haven't practiced. It's not going to go the way you think in your head. Some of the guys that I've seen when they try that triple, for example, some of the guys that have never jumped that jump before, they go nose high and then they fall right on their ass. So they hurt themselves, break a bone. They do something that's going to damage them and stop them from going to work that next week. So don't do something that you haven't done in practice and try to do it in a race and think it's gonna happen. You're gonna have a good outcome from it, because it may not work out the way that you think. So there you go, guys. Those are my 5 things that I learned at my first motocross race. And this was back, I think I said, 2007. So it's definitely a while ago. So what are some things that you guys learned your first time going out to a motocross race? Did you experience the same things or were they different? Let me know in the comments below. So that's it for me today. I just wanted to share those things because I thought some of the new riders, they need something to learn from, and hopefully you can learn from my mistakes so you don't make these same things when you go race. Maybe you'll have a new list when you go ride your first race. So that's it for me today. I'm RJ with Twin Halos, and I'll see you guys in the next video. These are the first 5 things that I learned after my first Supercross race. Supercross, holy crap.